come first and where news is done right. And we begin with major news at the southern border, where Tom Homan says this is the most secure he's seen it in his entire career. Think about that. In fact, migrant shelters are empty because the rest of the world is getting the message that illegal immigration will not be tolerated. Watch.
Has closed an office that was opened up to receive illegals. What's that tell us?
That tells us the border is more secure than it's ever been. We're going to have additional facilities built to detain for removal, not to hold to release. Detain for removal. That is what the Trump administration is doing. That's what the promise that President Trump made to the American people. We're concentrating on the export program. We're not going to be catch and release is over. So those facilities that were at great taxpayer expense to welcome people flying to the city of their choice, give them a free hotel room at taxpayer expense, 3 meals a day, free medical attention. Those days are over. We're going to detain. We end catch and release, and we're going to hold people to remove, not to release.
And meanwhile, President Trump stopped by the Daytona Speedway yesterday and even took a lap around the track. Very cool. Take a look.
And Mr. President, the radio is yours. This is your favorite president. I'm a big fan. I am a really big fan of you people that you do this. I don't know, but I just want you to be safe. You're talented people, and you're great people and great Americans. Have a good day. Have a lot of fun, and I'll see you later.
And meanwhile, across Washington, the DOGE team is taking aim at waste, fraud, and abuse, finding more and more of the swamp's dirty secrets in pretty much every single agency. As it turns out, pretty much the entire left-wing apparatus and wokeness agenda has propped up by, guess what, your tax dollars. And the DOGE team is reportedly now setting its sights on the IRS. This is some of the best news of all time. And according to new poll numbers from ABC News, President Trump's approval rating is as high as it's ever been. Take a look.
Favorability rating is actually higher than it ever was the first time around. Let me ask you, a recent poll by Marquette looked at several of the things that he has done or says that he is going to do, and 63% favor federal government's recognition of only two sexes, 60% favor deporting immigrants who entered the United States illegally, 60% favor expanding oil and gas production, 59% favor declaring an emergency at the southern border. Is there anything you are seeing that Trump is doing that you are in favor of, that you think is the right thing?
Let me say, as it relates to all of those issues, we're just at the beginning.
Here to react to this and much more, President and CEO of Publius PR, author of the #1 political humor book in America, The White Privilege Album, AJ Rice. Thank you so much for joining us.
KG, great to be here. Let's just, I told everyone I'm partying with KG today. My half Irish cousin. And St. Patrick's Day is not here yet, but we're going to get after it a little early here.
I love this. Are you kidding me? Let's go. I love it. All right. Well, that's off to a very good start. And congrats on everything. And also, we love that you were coming on the program. We're big fans of yours here. And we're seeing, President Trump literally demolish everything the left had held sacred, okay, on a mantle for decades, like DEI. And the more we learn, the more we realize that our own tax dollars were funding it, subsidizing all of this wokeness. And it's the least talented and most corrupt bad actors who are actually benefiting the most from this grift. Is this the day of reckoning that they actually never hoped would happen?
Absolutely. And, President Trump's got all the bloodhounds out, and they're digging in the backyard, right? We're not just finding $2 million for Guatemalan sex changes. We're finding all kinds of things. And I think we're just at the tip of the iceberg here, KG, because, the big, gigantic, sort of most obtuse, terrible actors, the IRS, the Pentagon, the State Department, some of these other agencies, and I'm broadcasting live from the swamp right now. I can tell you there are agencies the American people don't even know about, like the General Services Administration, right? The Government Accountability Office. Those were the people that were throwing those wine and cheese parties at the Star Trek conventions a couple of years ago. God knows where our money's going into the black holes in some of those places. So It's an amazing thing, for all the people that have come to MAGA late. They've come to populism late, and you're not one, and I'm not one.
That's right.
But all the speeches, all those years, KG, and you've been dealing with it. You've seen them.
Oh yeah.
From the libertarians, and from the Koch brothers, and from the fancy people at the Wall Street Journal and these other places. You are finally getting an audit of your government, and it's here. It's not Ron Paul. It's not Tom Coburn. It's President Trump and Elon Musk. And you should be thankful. You should, stop writing the pieces, right? I see some of these goofy things coming out of the Wall Street Journal or from the Chamber of Commerce.
Goofy.
Right? This is what you say as fiscal conservatives that you always wanted. So smile and be happy about it.
Oh, you're absolutely right. I mean, these people, what a joke. And look how quickly, the turnabout has come, which I absolutely love. And President Trump loves it. I told people, please trust me, listen to me. He's got it all lined up. It's all going to happen very quickly. You got to put him in. They all have been coming back to me saying, well, you were right. Wow, we didn't even expect this. It's unbelievable. There he is with his bestie. There he is, Elon and Trump and little X. Look at this guy. He kills me. He's funny. So your book is which is amazing. It's part satire, part journalism, and another boom of truth serum. How can we use, in a way, and I think it's an effective tool, mockery as a way of holding those who abuse power accountable?
Absolutely. Look, I'm a Rush baby, so I was raised on his methodology. And quite frankly, Andrew Breitbart's methodology, who was a mentor to me. Yeah, I mean, their job was to use irreverent humor, use satire to illustrate truth. And, the best shows, the best hosts, you've been doing it for years yourself. People do it on social media. For some reason, the left just, with very few exceptions, like Ricky Gervais and Chappelle, they completely vacated the realm of comedy and left very few people, friends of yours, friends of ours, to come in and mock them. It's like a blank chalkboard here. And, you watch these late night hosts, you watch these hacks running this 50 years of Saturday Night Live over this past weekend. Well, it's been 49 years since Saturday Night Live was funny, right? So,
yeah.
And then they've got these doughy white Gen X goofballs all on at night. The Jimmys and the Stevens and the Stevens and the Jimmys, they're all telling the same jokes. They dusted off their George W. Bush jokes and their Sarah Palin jokes. And now they're making them about Trump. And it's tired and it's lazy.
It's lazy. Such a good point.
Yeah, absolutely.
They put no effort in and they think it's funny. They're not funny, okay? And they all have been made fools of for their nonsense and, hypocrisy. And then do you see that thing? This is a little off topic, but like Tom Hanks, pretending to be like a racist MAGA person on SNL. What is going on with that?
You tune in and Tom Hanks is wearing a MAGA hat. And I guess he's, on some kind of game show and a black guy tries to shake his hand and he pulls his hand back. I mean, this is outrageous. It's outrageous stuff. I got to tell you, Trump just won with the most multi-ethnic working class coalition
Correct.
we've seen in a generation. Okay, so this isn't really about what we did. He got Hispanic Catholics moving towards him. He got the Muslims in Michigan to vote the same way as the Jewish voters in the suburbs of Pennsylvania. He got African Americans from Clark County to Atlanta to Philly and Pittsburgh to come his direction. So we don't have to explain anything to them. They're going to have to explain why they decided to trade Liz Cheney for Elon Musk and Tulsi Gabbard and RFK Jr. If Trump was like George Steinbrenner or like the GM of a major league sports team, this would be the greatest ripoff in history. I'll send you Kinzinger, right, when he's done crying. I'll send you Liz Cheney. You give me back Tulsi, Elon, and RFK Jr.
Unbelievable.
That's a World Series win.
It is. It's absolutely. Send those other fools off to an island together. Oh, crybabies, huh? That's not my idea of fantasy island. Let me tell you with them.
That's right. And it was funny because Barack Obama went to Pittsburgh, as you'll recall, and he's got 3 houses in the whitest neighborhoods in America. And he goes there in his Brioni suit to talk down to the brothers, a bunch of Pittsburgh Steelers fans. And they don't have amnesia. They remember what it was like under him and under now Biden. And they remember that when Trump was there in his first term, things were going great till COVID showed up.
Well, exactly. Conveniently.
So That's what they go back to, though, KG. It's, you know, it's the art of talking down to them. It's the soft bigotry of low expectation.
It really is. And it's so condescending. It's so insulting. And, you know, they just have no respect for anybody. And I guess not for themselves, because they'll say and do whatever it takes to try to get what they want and justify, you know, their politics and their, you know, horrific woke policies. Let's talk about this, though, too. We see a lot of symbolism highlighting kind of this renewed sense, right, of American patriotism. President Trump, I keep looking at all the video and the footage of it, was at Daytona yesterday. And I went with him last time we went. Was it, I don't know, maybe time flies. But Team USA hockey defeated Canada for the first time in over a decade. Okay,
Absolutely.
That was pretty killer too. But the left, they don't want to feel that joy. They just want to like sit there and.
There's a little light in the loafers, and Trudeau,
oh, dear
the wacky prime minister there, he was there. And you know, if they were booing our national anthem, and if you're not careful, right, KG, that's going to be your national anthem soon. If you're not careful.
I heard that from a guy. I heard that
action happening. I mean, look, they can spin this all they want.
Yeah.
But they boot, you know, I imagine a dream world, KG, where Trump called the locker room like Bobby Knight, like Pat Riley, right? Like Belichick, and he got them all hyped up. But he didn't even need to do that because they were booing our national anthem, and we have a patriotic team. This is supposed to be Canada's national sport. And not only did we beat their ass, NICE has resisted a lot of wokeism. It's
such a good point.
Goofy Pride Month stuff, right? Because my team, I'm from Philly, as the audience can hear, and you know the Flyers resisted some of the wear a rainbow, you know, face mask, you know, crazy stuff. And what's amazing about it is, in the midst of all of that, it actually is in some ways the most global sport.
It is,
of the four sports.
No, you're right about that. Such a good point. I actually have not thought about that before. So I love when, you know, you make me think about something outside the box, which is really cool because think about it. There was so much of this take a knee and, won't stand for the national anthem, all this stuff in the NFL, which really annoys me because I do love football. But, you know, this has got to stop. I mean, these people are paid a lot of money. They're living in this country, doing incredibly well for it. Like, what is your beef? What is your gripe, you know, really about? And it's so pretentious. And, they act so self-important, like they know better than everybody else. And no one wants to see that nonsense. You're either good enough to put a jersey on and play the sport and act like a grown-up and, you know, work with your team and listen to your coaches and the owners, or like go get another job. Go work at Blockbuster.
Right. Well, and you know, that's interesting. And I write about this in the book, is that when Trump was there in their first term, the NBA actually was the most egregious. They wouldn't go visit the White House. Yeah. Whereas the NHL comes to the White House no matter who the president is, because, you know, it's not red states and blue states, it's the red, white, and blue states. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's funny. I write about this in the book. You know, there's a lot of foreign players like Joel Embiid of the Philadelphia 76ers, like Giannis Antetokounmpo for the Bucks. They love playing in the NBA in this country. And it's an amazing thing when you compare the foreign-born NBA players versus the sort of, I guess, disgruntled, kooky, woke NBA players that, like D. Wade and LeBron and Kevin Durant and some of these other characters. When you put them side by side, I mean, some of them really appreciate being here because they escaped complete hellholes either in Eastern Europe or in Africa. So this is a blessing to them, which is very refreshing.
Well, it really is. And I'm just, you know, I don't know. Kids look up to, you know, athletes and sports. And so it's just, I just like to see them behave professionally and play their game that they're paid very well to do, not to be disrespectful. You know, go volunteer at your, you know, community center or something if you're upset about all this stuff. Don't be a disgrace on the field, you know, to the team and to the country. But let's also talk about how humorless the left is. I mean, let's be honest, like you touched on earlier, they're not funny. They can't even do comedy anymore. Like you said, they're like lazy, unimaginative, and they're the ones that engage in this like bigoted racism, the way they talk about, you know, MAGA supporters or conservatives in this country. And let's be honest too, 911, I'd like to call in an immediate emergency, massive branding problem for the Democrats because they have destroyed the party, destroyed their image. And we're seeing it, in poll after poll. Like, they need help.
Correct. And look, they have backed themselves into this corner where for all that talk last summer at the DNC about joy, these are the most joyless people you will ever meet. If you ever met sort of an unmarried, childless cat lady that Paging JD Vance is talking about, listening to Taylor Swift in the background, they are the most joyless people you will ever meet. And if you try to hang out with them, there's one thing that they're experts at. They will vacuum all joy and humor from you. These are miserable people. I mean, absolutely. I mean, and that's who I'm talking. These are the ones screaming about the patriarchy, screaming about the white privilege and toxic masculinity. And they are, really. And here's the thing: in order for them to keep power, they need customers. So they need all of us to be joyless too. Make no mistake, trickle-down wokeism is trickle-down misery. Mm-hmm. And that's what they want to keep all of us in. And they can't stand the fact that MAGA supporters look like, even in the dark times, we are happy warriors. We look like we're having fun. For all the talk about Reagan and Trump, one of the reasons these two gentlemen, presidents, were as special as that they have been is not just the stuff they got done, standing down tyranny and things like that. They were cheerleaders for what makes us amazing here. Exactly. And people forget that. So when you see Trump at the Super Bowl or the Army-Navy game or Daytona, he's there because he's America's #1 cheerleader. And, that makes the left cringe. It makes Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert cringe. They can't stand that.
Yeah, they can't handle it at all, at all. And I want to talk about this too. So one commentator called President Trump the 80-20 president, but Democrats are just digging in, even on the trans sports issue. It's the whole deal.
That's right. It appears that of all the flags that they're willing to die on, it appears that I call this the curse of the bearded lady. And it appears they are so hypnotized by dying on the hill of the trans mafia, AOC screaming about, men knocking out women. They should be allowed to do that in the Olympics, or fighting with Nancy Mace about letting Kim and Jim into the women's bathroom on Capitol Hill. The fact that this is where they think their future is. Look, I'm a marketing person, but I also like to poke fun at these people. I say, keep it up. You're going to continue to lose as long as you spend more time with the trans mafia versus, say, the Plumbers Union of Philadelphia or the Teamsters, right? Or, any type of working class group that has been hosed by you through the Green New Deal, redistributing the entire third world to these urban neighborhoods, right? You don't have a jobs program. You have no new ideas. You just have trying to separate all of us into these grievance groups, like some kind of weird Benetton ad from their woke fever dream, and think that we won't turn on you. Well, we have, and the 2024 election was proof.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And I want you to tell us more about this incredible book, by the way, which is very, very popular. Kind of what inspired you, and, how was the process, putting this all together and creating this work of art, quite frankly, and where people can learn more and find it.
Yeah, definitely. So I want to apologize to the Beatles there for the White Album. the White Privilege album. Not to Yoko, though. We don't care what Yoko thinks.
No, at all. Thank you.
She's outside the Met right now screaming into the pavement, the Met Gallery. Look, I try to have fun. And I try to teach along the way. The book is 12 chapters, and I call it the 12 months of privilege. So chapter 1 is January privilege, and chapter 12 is December privilege. I go through an entire calendar year, and I poke fun at some of the stuff the left has done recently. I defend our traditions. I defend our holidays.
Sure.
So whether it's Columbus Day in October or Thanksgiving in November, and the main thrust of it is a defense of Western civilization, Greco-Roman, Judeo-Christian civilization. Right, because that's the four legs of the table that, look, not all civilizations are equal. You have a special one here. I know that's not politically correct, but not all cultures are equal either. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? We are not a multicultural country. We're a multi-ethnic country, but we only have one culture here, and that's what makes us all-stars. 100% that's why. So I defend Western Civ. I defend the middle class, which the left is trying to destroy. They know that in order to take power here, real Marxism, they need to have no middle class. They have to soak us and crush us. And the third thing is I defend the nuclear family. Now, granted, there's all different types of families out there. Not everyone can make that happen.
Yeah.
But the idea where the left is going to sort of replace parents with government. And I mean, look, Black Lives Matter even told us on their website, right next to their love letter to Hamas, that the nuclear family was some kind of construct of white supremacy and that it had to go. So, I poke fun at the left. I defend these things. And I think people will have a good time reading it.
Absolutely. Super funny and honest. It's refreshing, genuine humor and intelligence and putting in the hard work. I love it. You've had an incredible career. I know you're just getting started, quite frankly, but we love you. We're super, super happy. So tell everyone where they can get it right now.
KG, you could go to, Amazon. It's always great. Books A Million, Barnes and Noble.
Yeah.
The White Privilege album is actually volume 2 to my first book, The Woking Dead. So you can get both of them. Yeah. No, you can get volume 1 and 2 together. And if you have any blue-haired nieces or nephews, right?
Yeah.
Maybe get them a copy. Maybe we can slowly convert them to sanity.
I can't. You make me laugh always, and then my eyes disappear because I'm laughing so much. All right. Well, this is amazing. Go out and get both of the books. You will love it. It will be money well spent. My friend, AJ Rice, you're a superstar, very talented. Thank you for spending time with us today.
KG, we love you. You're a patriot. Keep fighting out there, girl.
You got it. And coming up, more coverage of all the big breaking news. And with Trump, that's every day. But first, free speech is under attack. But Rumble refuses to back down, just like Trump. We've always believed in empowering independent voices, and now Rumble is taking that issue and that cause and belief to the next level. We are excited to offer Rumble Premium, a completely ad-free experience with exclusive benefits for viewers and creators. And it's more than a subscription. It is a stand for free speech. Your voice matters. So please, join Rumble Premium. For a limited time, you can get $10 off an annual plan using promo code KG10, okay? So just visit rumble.com/premium/KG10 and you can claim your discount today. Again, that's rumble.com/premium/KG10. Let's get involved. Now, yesterday on CBS, host Margaret Brennan had a bizarre exchange with Secretary of State Rubio, where she suggested that free speech was to blame, if you can believe this, for the rise of Hitler. Watch.
Standing in a country where free speech was weaponized to conduct a genocide. And he met with the head of a political party that has far-right views and some historic ties to extreme groups. The context of that was changing the tone of it. And you know that the censorship
I have to disagree with
was
you.
specifically about the right.
No, I have to disagree with you. Free speech was not used to conduct a genocide. The genocide was conducted by an authoritarian Nazi regime that happened to also be genocidal because they hated Jews and they hated minorities and they hated those that they had a list of people they hated, but primarily the Jews. There was no free speech in Nazi Germany. There was none. There was also no opposition in Nazi Germany. They were a sole and only party that governed that country. So that's not an accurate reflection of history.
I have to tell you what a fantastic job our Secretary of State is doing, and that was an amazing answer. These people need to be educated. They need to be corrected when they make factually erroneous and historically erroneous and inaccurate assertions on the air. So that's what free speech is about, being able to get on there and actually talk and have a dialogue and express viewpoints. And it's refreshing when it's backed up by facts. Of course, it is just the latest example of media malpractice. That's what I like to call it, as the press spins in circles trying to attack President Trump. And in reality, they are only exposing themselves. Joining me now for reaction, and much more, Daily Signal columnist and author of The War on History, The Conspiracy to Rewrite America's Past, we have the one and only Jarrett Stepman. Jarrett, thank you so much for being on the program.
It's great to be with you. Thank you.
All right. So, first, if I can get your reaction to Margaret Brennan's comments, I was like, what? I kept watching it, like, and listening to him, like, what is happening here? How
You
could
know,
CBS News have such a disconnect historically and also from reality?
Yeah, good for Rubio for answering that. Frankly, he
Smashed
looked a
it.
little shocked immediately because it's such an off the wall kind of response to what Nazi Germany really stood for. The idea that it was based on freedom of speech, that was what really led to the Holocaust, Nazi tyranny. I think it's quite interesting that they're going with that response. You have a separate 60 Minutes segment basically promoting German ideas about censoring free speech in that country. Why suddenly all of these stories coming from the press, coming from the media, saying that free speech is a bad thing, that we should turn against it, that it's no good, that it leads to Nazism. Frankly, the answer is the exact opposite. I think it is very interesting right now that you see elite media going with this narrative and praising those, especially in Europe, where I think you do see now a retreat from free speech, that something that we celebrate, I think, since the beginning of the creation of the United States, that seems to be in full retreat in Europe. That should disturb not just Americans, but people living in Europe, to disturb them about their leaders, that they support these kind of things.
And of course, Vice President Vance had the European diplomats literally in tears after he called them out for censorship and open borders. Why are so many European leaders, more concerned about punishing, if you think about it, their own citizens, even as their countries are in decline, amid the mass unfettered immigration?
Well, I thought it was really great what Vance did. He brought something that hasn't been there in a long time, which is radical candor. He's bringing up these
I
issues that
like
have been
that
festering
phrase.
under the surface in Europe for generations. I think, fortunately, in the United States, we do have a very robust free speech regime where these issues are talked about and debated. I think there's been quite a shift in American politics, certainly in the last few years. But that tidal wave needs to come to Europe too. I think what Vance did, it's funny that the Europeans see this as an insult. I think that's actually the European elite. He's doing them a favor. He's calling out the kind of tyranny that should be unacceptable. If they want to be partners and allies with the United States, a country that promotes freedom, they need to be free countries. And the fact that they've now brought in many people who are hostile to their way of life, to their way of government, that they haven't questioned these policies, these views in the last few decades, is causing a crisis there that's going to lead to some ugly things. And now trying to stamp out free speech or anybody who speaks the truth about it is quite revealing of what they become.
President Trump and his team have brought competence and, a sense of urgency, quite frankly, to the White House. What can you compare it to that you've seen, historically? What other moments in history stand out to you?
It's interesting. I do think there is a sort of soft revolution taking place within our government. This happens every once in a while in American government where the sort of bipartisan consensus is thrown to one side and something new comes. It actually, in a weird way, reminds me of the early New Deal era. Going back that
Mm,
far, I realize Trump's principles are very different, but it reminds me of those first 100 days of the FDR presidency
yeah.
where there was huge changes taking place. There were a lot of young people being brought into office, and it did create a
It's like
very
the young
stark
people
change
in
of the
Doge.
past. I think that we're getting something like that now with the Trump administration, which I think is Trump's sort of New Deal here. I think there has been a radical change just in the first few days, and a lot of energy that's been brought to the Oval Office that we're not used to in the last 4 years. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure. And let's talk little bit about, how the left's allegiance, to the administrative state, which is a failed state. They seem very willing to go down with the ship, even when public opinion is like screaming in the other direction and very much against it. Why is it? Why do they have this fatalistic approach to governance?
I think they're too all in. I think that people will come to realize that the reason we have this is because of them. They're the ones who defended this. They created the growth of the federal government, of the administrative state that's obviously been abusing Americans and taxpayers for a very long time, promoting radical ideology. And that's only escalated in the last few years. So every time there's a story about the corruption that's happened in our government, whether it be USAID or the State Department or the IRS, that's an indictment of them. It's an indictment of their leadership and their style of governance. And I think that's why they're very much afraid right now of what's happening with DOGE, of Musk going in and essentially revealing this, auditing our government. I mean, this is our government. It's of the people, by the people, for the people. They don't seem to think that. They think it's for the left and by the left. I think what Trump is doing is changing that dynamic. He's opening up to the American people and revealing what our government's really been about. And I think it's cause for celebration. Certainly, I don't think the left can, because again, it indicts them too much as far as how they've governed in the last generation.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. And I like how you brought up sort of that historical, analogy with the New Deal and all the young people that came in and making all these changes. It really is true. It harkens back to that time. And then now this is just done, Trump style, but it's like all this criticism about these young people, who are they and whatever, and DOGE. And I mean, look, in 5 seconds, efficiency, finding everything out. And they have very impressive backgrounds, are willing to, serve the country and do something incredible. I don't ever quarrel with somebody that is talented and has a, ability, and wants to do a good job regardless of their age.
Yeah, I love the fact that they're bringing in these talented young men, many of whom are in their early 20s. It makes me think of George Washington, his staff. He had Alexander Hamilton working for him at 21 years old, an incredibly able man. The fact that we have young people full of energy with some real talent and skills, how different is that, again, from the last 4 years? I mean, that's not what you think of your typical government bureaucrat. It's quite refreshing to see these able young men serve their country, really, and what they're doing. They're going and auditing our government to make sure that it works better for the American people. That's something to celebrate. That's using young people's talent. Some of these men are very talented, using it for the right purposes. And I'm glad to see it. It's again, such a shame.
And we should applaud that, and have a society and a government that is based on, people coming in to work, a meritocracy. And it's great if we can change the tide and attract some of the smartest, talented young minds in the country that can come in and make a difference. And it's the most respectful thing you can do, is to say, we take very seriously the hardworking men and women of this country and the taxpayers that are funding these things. We should be judicious, and we should be very circumspect about what we spend it on, how we're spending it. And that should be something that all Americans strive for. This should be a bipartisan issue of wanting to make sure that, we have the best, the brightest, and that government is actually, like you said, working for us, we the people.
Yeah, and that's something that's very important to the future of the Trump presidency, is bringing competency back to our government, to making it work on our behalf. How much of that was squandered in the last few years, create a reputation the government is just going to make a mess of everything. In very many cases it has. And on top of that, it's been very ideological. It's gone after a lot of patriotic Americans because they voted the wrong way. So not only was it incompetent, but it was weaponized against good people. So the important things that it was supposed to do, it was terrible at. And instead, it created this idea that Americans should fear their government. And I think that that's the wrong way to go about it. I'm glad we're seeing a real reset right now. And I think that's what we're getting at the federal level, no question.
I think so too. And I think Americans were so disillusioned by the weaponization of government agencies, institutions that were once revered and looked upon with a stellar reputation, and then no longer. And I really do look forward, God bless, hopefully, as soon as Kash Patel can get in with the FBI. I like what Trump is doing in DOGE with the efficiency metrics for the IRS. How about that? And how about deploying agents to the border? I can't. So good.
That was one of my favorite ideas from the early Trump presidency, is sending them to the border. Reminds me of Game of Thrones. Send them to the border wall, which was just wonderful. Again, it's getting our priorities straight. It's saying, we need to audit our government, look at what they're actually doing. Many of these things that they do doesn't serve the American people. And really, it should be the president, not these bureaucrats who ultimately control the ship of state. I mean, Article 2, Section 1 is that the executive power should be vested in the president. It's funny to see all these bureaucrats now screaming and crying about the fact they're not going to get their way anymore. Well, that's not how our system is supposed to work. And I think that right now we're having a reset to how our government has worked for a very long time. I think very badly has served the American people. We're bringing back small R Republican self-government. Trump's doing that. I think he's doing that even better than 2016, 2017, when he first entered office the first time. I think this is a real revolution in American politics that'll have repercussions a generation from now, decades from now. Again, it's a soft reset.
I think so. And it's and the people, the talent that has stepped up to the plate and come in like really strong, patriotic Americans. And by the way, this is very consistent with the election results and what President Trump campaigned and ultimately won, a decisive victory at the ballot box to put forth, his mandate for America First, and he's doing that. And that is what the American people elected him to do. So that's why I think it's important. We've seen these people come through, confirmation, et cetera, and now, jumping in right away, getting into action. But let's also talk a little bit about you, shall we, Jarrett? Let's talk about your book, the hard work you put into that, and the war on history more broadly. What can we learn by this fascinating book?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think there's actually been a turnaround in the war on history. I think when I wrote this book, there was a lot of attacks on our past, the foundations of what America was. You can go across the board from Christopher Columbus through the Pilgrims, through the founding fathers. All these things came into question in the last few years, and many of the elite institutions of our country were very happy to join the mob in tearing down the statues of the great men and women who created the United States. And again, what is that message that's sending to the American people, that our government in our country is somehow illegitimate from the beginning? It was based on nothing but racism and slavery. Those ideas are wrong. And so in my book, I correct the record. I set the record straight, explain why we celebrated these figures like Columbus or George Washington in the past, and why they deserve to be up on the pedestals. And I think that many of the people who've been running our country, I think they're almost embarrassed by many of the people that we put on pedestals in this country. And I think that's part of why they needed to tear them down and to create a sort of year zero where I think a lot of left-wing ideas were injected in how our government functions. I'm very hopeful, especially with the Trump administration prioritizing a celebration of American history. I'm very encouraged by the fact that the 250th anniversary celebration under Trump in 2026 is going to be a huge event. I think it's so important that Americans reinvigorate that spirit that guided this country from 1776 to today. And I think many Americans are ready to celebrate that once again, the greatness that this country is. And I'm glad to see it from this administration. It was a hard 4 years, and I think there was a lot of weaponization against our history. I think that's turned around. I think the American people have turned against these ideas and now embraced a full-throated American patriotism.
Well, I think you're right about that. And let me just ask you personally, what would you like to see kind of happen next? There's so much on everyone's wish list, bucket list, but it's promises made and promises kept by Trump. I know we love the IRS thing, but what else, excites you?
Well, I'm excited actually, but it was something that went under the radar. Trump's Garden of Heroes, actually, this national park for a Garden of Heroes, building statues that were torn down in the last 4 years, saying not only are we going to not retreat from our past, we're going to build more statues to the great Americans. The idea of creating the Gulf of America, which I thought was great. America's a great country. It's unquestionable. The president is now acting like that. The American people understand that. There are a lot of young Americans who don't remember a time when they've heard leaders speak this way, when they didn't think that they could have an unabashed celebration of their country. I think that's back now, and creating the symbols and showing that, yes, America is back, we're here to stay, is so important. These symbols really matter. That's why the left went after them to begin with. That's why we have to bring them back. Trump understands that. He understands that these symbols work. They matter. When he stood up and pumped his fist with the American flag in the background, that said a lot about what this country was, what he was about. And I think bringing back that history and saying, this is the patriotism that we stand for, we're not going to apologize for being Americans, that era is over, is so important for the future of this country. I think Trump gets that, and I think his administration is going to keep promoting it.
Okay, well, I think so. I hope so. I'm looking forward to it. It's like every day, I say on the show, it's a big breaking news day. It's every day. And you just go, whoa, what's happening next? It's pretty exciting. All right, tell everyone for sure where they can get your book again so we can get some of those books moving for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can go to Amazon.com. That's where most of my books are sold. You can go directly to the publisher's website, which is Regnery Publishing. And you can also get it at Barnes & Noble and other stores like that, brick and mortar stores. So definitely all those sources.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you for spending time on President's Day. Nice to do it together and with the greatest president this country has seen. And that's saying something. Jarrett Stepman, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Kimberly.
All right, and my closing remarks just ahead, but don't forget about protecting your savings with the Birch Gold Group. With President Trump back in office, you are going to have more money in your paycheck and more opportunities to prepare for the future. Birch will take you through the process step by step, answer any questions, and help you convert an existing IRA or a 401k into an IRA in gold so you don't pay a penny out of pocket. What you can do, you can text KG to 989898 today. That's KG to the number 989898. And I also want to bring you a special message from Patriot Lifestyle where you can save more and spend less on a whole host of different lifestyle benefits, from savings on travel, identity theft, legal services, and even pet care. Take a look.
Guilfoyle here, and I'm so excited to introduce the Patriot Lifestyle Benefits Program. With our benefits program, you get a range of lifestyle benefits at an affordable price so you can save money and stay secure. For example, as a member, you will access exclusive discounts with NB Cash Back, so you can save more on your everyday expenses like groceries, restaurants, and even auto services. And with NB Travel, you can experience more but spend less by enjoying deep discounts on flights, hotels, entertainment, and so much more. These benefits are available to you and your immediate family to use anytime, anywhere. We also offer identity theft protection, so you can stay on top of any unauthorized, fraudulent, or illegal activity. And access free and discounted legal services, so you can protect your rights and receive top legal advice without breaking the bank. Plus, enjoy peace of mind on the highway with our roadside assistance program. And even take care of your furry friends with discounts on pet food, toys, medicine, grooming, and even trips to the vet. Our program is designed specifically for America First patriots like you, who understand the importance of letting your dollars reflect your values and supporting companies who support you. And the best part of all of this, our benefits are at below market prices, so you can enjoy all of them while living the Patriot lifestyle to the fullest. So don't miss out. Visit our website at patriotbenefits.net. That's patriotbenefits.net. Thank you again for choosing the Patriot Lifestyle Benefits Program, where real benefits and real savings are our top priority. Join us today and start saving now.
And you can go to patriotbenefits.net to learn more, because these programs all come at an extraordinary value and they will greatly improve your life. And in closing, just like we saw at the Daytona Speedway yesterday, President Trump isn't slowing down anytime soon. The sense of urgency and the momentum is growing each and every day. And it's also a testament to all of you for making it clear that you want a government that is actually accountable to you, the American people. So let's keep our foot on the gas pedal, shall we? Stay on offense and keep delivering one big win after another. I want to thank you so much on President's Day for joining us today. Please be sure to download the Rumble app, subscribe to my channel, turn on notifications, like and share, and tell all your friends so they know exactly where to find us. And please also be sure to follow me across all platforms: X, Truth Social, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Stay tuned to Rumble for all the latest breaking news coverage. And don't miss Don Jr.'s big show at 6 p.m. Eastern with Daily Wire host Michael Knowles. It's going to be fantastic. I hope you have a great rest